Every chord you ever played is one move repeated. Stack a third, stack another, triad, sevenths, ninth, 13ths, the Hendrix chord, the Django chord, every chord symbol with the sharps and flats and flashes, they all collapse into the same rule. 14 minutes from now, you'll see the whole system as one shape. Stay with me. Before you stack anything, you need notes, 12 of them. C, C sharp, D, D sharp, all the way back to C. The chromatic scale, 12 evenly spaced building blocks. Every chord, every scale, every melody you've ever heard comes out of these 12 notes. There's nothing else. Drop a template over the 12, whole half, whole half. 7 of them get picked, the rest fall away. That's left with the major scale, the pattern hiding inside half of the songs you know. Everything you do starts here. Each of these 7 notes gets a name based on its distance from the root. Major second, major third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, major sixth, major seventh. These names are not random. They are the measuring stick for every chord ever written. When somebody says the flat 7 or raise the third, they are pointing at a distance. A chord at the deepest level is just a chosen handful of these distances. Now we stack the first floor of the tower. 3 notes, a triad. The rule is simple. Pick a starting note, stack a third, stack another. 3 notes, that's a triad. But there are 2 flavors of third. The major third, 4 half steps, and the minor third, 3 half steps. And which one you pick in what order decides everything that comes next. Start on C, stack a major third that gives you E. Stack a minor third on top gives you G, 3 notes C, E, G. A major third, bright, resolved, the chord that ends most of the songs you hear. The whole pop lexicon built on this one stack. Now flip the order. Minor third first and major third on top. C, E flat to G. The outer notes don't move. The middle one dropped by a single half step. That single half step is the difference between Eleanor Rigby and Let It Be. The minor triad. One note moves, everything else changes. 2 more combinations and you've got the whole vocabulary. Stack 2 majors. C, E, G sharp. You get an augmented triad. The chord that opens Mr. Sandman. 10th, suspended in the air, stack 2 minors. C, E flat, G flat. You get diminished, unstable, desperate to resolve, to get somewhere, anywhere. We get 4 triads, 4 combinations of 2/3. That is the entire alphabet. Now do the rule everywhere. Build a triad on every note of C major. C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B diminished. 7 chords and you didn't choose any of them. The scale decided which would be major, which minor, which diminished. The rule applied 7 times. Hands you the entire harmony of a key for free. Stop here for a second. From one rule applied to one scale, we just built every primary chord in Western music. 4 triad types, 7 diatonic chords, from 7 notes. Now apply the same rule again. Stack one more third on top of the triad. 3 notes become 4. The chord doesn't change identity, it gets deeper. This is the moment a song stops sounding like a campfire sing-along and starts sounding sophisticated. The threshold every jazz, soul, R&B and the neo-soul tune crosses on its very first chord. C major 7, 1, 3, 5, 7. Warm, the opening of Misty. Lower the 7th a half step, you get C dominant 7, tense, bluesy, always pointing somewhere else. Flatten the 3rd 2 and you get C minor 7, smooth, jazzy, the bedrock of Bill Withers. Flatten the 5th 2, you get the first chord of Stella by Starlight. Stack 4 minor thirds, you get C diminished 7, symmetric, very common in Gypsy jazz music. The exotic one, C minor major 7, film noir distilled into 4 notes. Apply the rule on every note of C major and you get 4 7th chord types. C major 7, D minor 7, E minor 7, F major 7, G7, the dominant, A minor 7, B half diminished. 4 flavors from 7 notes. The scale writes the harmony for you. But what if we don't stop at 4? What if the rule just keeps applying? Stack another third, then another. Extended chords just keep going. The 9th is the 2nd, the octave up. The 11th is the 4th, 1 octave up. The 13th is the 6th, 1 octave up. And after the 13th, the next third lands back on the root. The tower closes on itself, which means a 13th chord literally contains every note of the scale. Watch the ruler stretch out. Here's the root, C. Now look past the octave. D up here is the 9th, 14 elf steps from the root. F is the 11th, 17 steps from the root. A is the 13th, 21. Each one just another third stacked on top. The rule never breaks. Let's actually stack one. C major 7, C, E, G, B. Add D, you get a C major 9 chord, 5 notes. Add F, you get C major 11 chord. Add A, C major 13, 7 notes. The entire major scale stacked in thirds, all sounding at once. That is what the 13th chord is, not 7 memorized notes. One rule applied 7 times. In practice, nobody plays all 7. The bass handles the root. The 5th is the most boring note in the chord, so you can drop it. Sometimes drop the root too. What matters are the color tones, the 3rd, the 7th, and whichever extension you're highlighting. A grade 13 voicing might use only 4 notes, the whole tower implied by 4 bricks. Extended chords come in all the same flavors as the smaller ones. Major 9, dominant 9, minor 9. The chord family is decided by the 3rd and the 7th. Exactly like before, the extensions are just paint on top of the structure. You don't memorize chords, you learn the rule. One thing worth flagging, everything we've stacked here is thirds. That's Phrygian harmony. The system Western music runs on the vast majority of time. There is another way, stacking fourths instead of thirds. That's quartal harmony. Open, ambiguous, modern, the McCoy-Tyner sound, the so what sound. That's a different rule for a different video. Up to now, the rule has been sacred. Stack thirds, stack only thirds. But what happens if we break the rule on purpose? Move one note of the stack. and the whole chord becomes something else. Suspended chords kick the third out completely. Sus2, the third drops to a second, open floating, and Sus4, the third lifts to a fourth, tense, begging to resolve back down to the third. It's the genre of chord. Without it, you're in beautiful man's land. Add chords keep the third intact and just slip in an extra note. C add 9, a triad with the ninth, no seventh involved. Not the same as C9, which involves a seventh. C6, a triad plus the sixth. Warm, vintage, the Sinatra sound. C minor 6, a natural 6 over a minor chord. The signature of Django and Bossa Nova all at once. Altered chords take a dominant seventh and bend the note out of place. 7 sharp 5. Dramatic, 7 flat 5, the Triton substitution. 7 flat 9, dark, minor key flamenco. 7 sharp 9, the Hendrix chord, the most famous wrong note in rock. 7 sharp 11, Lydian dominant, bright tension. Each alteration is a single bent note. Each one paints a different color. Now you can read any chord symbol like a sentence. The letter is where. The quality says major or minor. The number tells you how high the tower goes. Sharps and flats afterwards tell you which note got bent. It's a language. Here's where it gets fun. We've been building chords out of the major scale, but there are other scales and each one builds a completely different family. Major gives you the familiar set you've been hearing your whole life probably. Harmonic minor, suddenly your 5 chord becomes major, which is why classical and flamenco live on it. And it gives you an augmented triad on the 3rd degree, free of charge. Melodic minor produces a kind of harmony you'll mostly hear in modern jazz. Coltrane, Joe Henderson, Brad Meldau. Parent scale also leaves chords nobody else can give you. Harmonic major, augmented triad on 3. Diminished triad on 7. Those are exclusive to this system. The melodic minor produces an augmented on 3, plus 2 diminished chords on 6 and 7. That triple helix is why melodic minor underwrites every modern jazz tune. Harmonic major, a diminished chord on 3, an augmented chord on 6. Rare, beautiful, most players never even touch them. Each scale leaves a fingerprint nobody else can reproduce. Now flip the question. Where does a C minor chord live? In C Dorian, 2nd degree of B flat major. In C Aeolian, 6th degree of E flat major. In C Phrygian, 3rd degree of A flat major. Same 3 notes, 3 different houses. Dorian as a natural 6th, bright and jazzy, the so what sound. Aeolian as a flat 6th, dark, classical, the natural minor sound. Phrygian as a flat 2nd, exotic, brooding, Spanish guitar. Same chord with 3 different worlds wrapped around it. Every chord type does this. A dominant 7 shows up in Mixolydian, Lydian dominant, Phrygian dominant, the altered scale, 4 different houses, 4 different fills. The half diminished Locrian, Locrian natural 2, minor major 7th. It lives inside both melodic minor and harmonic major. The chord stays the same. The scale around it changes the color. This is the secret nobody teaches in lesson 1. Chords are intersections. They sit at a meeting point of multiple scales, and each scale paints them differently. Knowing which intersection you're standing in tells you exactly what to play over it. So you're starting at a C minor 7 on a chart. What do you actually play? Dorian? Smooth, jazzy, that bright natural sixth? Aeolian, dark, emotional, classical, natural minor? Phrygian, exotic, that flat second? The same chord, three radically different flavors. The chord tones C, E flat, G, B flat. Never move, but the scale fills the gaps between them. And the gaps are where the colors live. Here's what most tutorials skip. Context decides everything. A C minor 7 sitting alone on a page could go any direction, but put it in a progression and the chords around it cast a vote. Take the most common cadence in jazz, D minor 7, G7, C major 7. All three live inside C major. Easiest choice? Play C major over all three, D Dorian over D minor 7, G Mixolydian over G7, C Ionian over C major 7. Same 7 notes, 3 different starting points, that's playing inside. But what if you want a little friction before the resolution? Hit the altered scale on the G7. Suddenly the chord is restless, and when it lands on C major 7, the resolution feels earned. But every style has its own rules. Django and the Manouche guitarists play melodic minor over their minor chords, not Aeolian. Aeolian as a flat sixth, melodic minor as a natural sixth, A natural instead of A flat. That one note is the difference between generic minor and the entire Hot Club of Paris. Flamenco goes further. Over an A minor chord, players use A Phrygian dominant, a scale that contains a major third, C sharp, sounding right next to the C natural in the major. Major and minor at the same time. The textbook says it shouldn't work. The textbook is wrong. That collision is flamenco. Blues does it the same way. Minor pentatonic, that flat third laid right on top of a dominant chord that already has the major third. E flat grinding into E natural. Every theory book calls it a mistake. Every blues musician calls it the whole reason they showed up. All three of those, Gypsy, Flamenco, blues, are forms of playing outside, choosing notes the chord didn't ask for. The deeper your inside knowledge, the more deliberate your outside choices become. Triad substitutions, superimposition, sidestepping. Every advanced concept you've ever read about is just intentional friction applied to one of these systems. Theory gives you the map, your ears choose the path. Zoom all the way out, 12 half steps, the raw material. Pick 7 of them with one pattern, you have a scale. Stack them in thirds, you have a chord. Keep stacking, you have extensions. Map to its scale, you have harmony. Add the context, add the style, you have music. Every chord is just thirds stacked. Every scale, its own family of chords. Context and style decide which scale paints each chord. That is the entire language. So which chord blew your mind? The Hendrix one, the Flamenco one, the minor major 7? Tell me below. Subscribe for more deep dives into the harmony underneath your favorite music.